If you've ever been disillusioned, disappointed, or discouraged in your search for love, and you know there has to be a better way to find the healthy, soul-filling love you've always longed for, then you've discovered the podcast for you. I know, as Ken's work personally has led me to find the love of my life. So here's your host of Deeper Dating, Ken Page.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Deeper Dating Podcast. I'm Ken Page. I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm the author of the best-selling book, Deeper Dating. And I am the founder of, it's the first time I'm going to be announcing this, the Deeper for Good app. This is an app that helps people meet online in a way that is decent and compassionate and thoughtful for people with deeper values, and it links up with events that make a difference in the world. So you can just go to deeperforgood.com and become a founding member. It is free, and we never gatekeep messaging. So it launches in June, and if you get on our waiting list, you'll receive discounts and bonuses and some free classes too. So I really encourage you to go to deeperforgood.com. It's a kind of magic new app that really breaks the old patterns of how people can connect online. And I'm just so excited to be offering it. Okay, so today I want to talk about what I think is one of the trickiest questions that people experience as they try to bring more consciousness to their search for love and not keep enacting the same old patterns again and again. And here's what that is. It's the question of, I'm not feeling great about this connection or this date. Is it me? Is this my fear of intimacy? Or is it my intuition that something is really not right? And how can I tell the difference, since I'm becoming more and more aware of the fact that I've enacted patterns that have kept me in bad relationships or drawn me to bad relationships or not the best relationships again and again? So how can I trust my intuition? Where is it fear of intimacy, or where is it intuition when something doesn't feel right on a date? Or same question, when something feels really right on a date and you're a little bit worried, maybe this is actually not a good sign that I am this attracted and kind of crazy for the person. We're going to be talking about all of that, and I'm going to offer you some tools to help you discriminate more wisely in your dating life. But first, I just want to say that in this episode and every episode, my commitment is to offer you the insights and the tools that I find most helpful to help people find real, healthy love and keep it flourishing and heal their life in the process, because the skills of dating are the skills of intimacy, and the skills of intimacy are the greatest skills of all for a rich and meaningful and happy life. Okay, let us jump in. So in my intensives, in my work, I've worked with so many people who want to bring more consciousness to their search for love, who feel, as I felt for decades, why is this not working? Why are the same patterns happening again and again when I try so hard? Why do the same kind of failures keep happening? And when we ask ourselves that question, it invariably leads us back to our reactions, our patterns, our attractions, and our behaviors as we search for love and as we build new connections with people as we date. So that happens, and we begin to notice patterns that are not the best, that have not helped us, either being really attracted to people who aren't good for us and kind of being drawn to those same qualities again and again, which there are deep and profound reasons why that happens. And when you start recognizing these patterns, you have gold. You have the raw material to change your future in love. And I teach about that in many different ways. But continuing on, the other one is you go on a date with someone and Maybe they look good on paper, but somehow you're just not interested. You're not really desiring them. You're not attracted to them, or there are things that make you feel funny, or you just kind of want to get away, or you want to get out of the date. And you wonder, this seems like a nice person. Am I having these doubts because they are a nice person? Because they might be available? Because they might be right for me, and I'm just used to relationships that aren't right for me? Or is this my intuition telling me something is off here? And should I trust that and honor it? Which way to go? I'm trying to change patterns, but I don't want to dishonor what my body is telling me, what my nervous system is telling me. At the same time, my nervous system has guided me into really not good relationships and out of really good relationships. So how do I know? How do I know to trust myself? So that's what we're going to jump into here. So as we do this work on our own growth, two things happen simultaneously that are kind of bewildering because they're almost antithetical to each other, or they feel that way. One is we start trusting our nervous system. If something feels funny, more and more we start trusting, hey, this feels funny for a reason. I'm not going to override my intuition. I'm not going to override my nervous system. I'm not going to override the fact that something just doesn't feel right and doesn't feel great here. That's one thing that happens, and it's a beautiful and powerful thing. And you can learn lots more about my work. And I talk about attractions of inspiration and attractions of deprivation, both of which can feel like attraction and love, but one gives you your best shot at happiness in love, and the other leads to pain almost invariably. So I talk about that in lots of different places, and in my course, Find the Good Ones, as well as in my Deeper Dating course. But so that's one thing that happens. The other thing that happens is we start doubting ourselves in a certain way, noticing our patterns that we've lived and relived again and again, which have led us to pain, unhappiness, relationship ends, leaving relationships that in retrospect were really good, and staying in relationships that in retrospect really were not good. So this is kind of antithetical, because this is like, I can't really trust my attractions that well. I can't trust my intuition in some way that well because it's gotten me into trouble. So how do I know which is which? How do I know, is this healthy intuition or is it fear of intimacy? And I'm just going to pause here and talk about what I think is the single greatest saboteur of healthy new love. And it is what kept me single for decades. And it's what I call the wave of distancing. And I would say more than half, between half and 2/3 of people that I talk to experience this and struggle with it. And that is, you meet someone, you're attracted to them, you're potentially attracted to them, there's a spark, they seem decent, they seem available, and all of a sudden they start getting really boring to you or irritating to you, and you don't know why. Well, that is often because your deep psyche knows that they are really available. And there's almost nothing more scary than that. Someone who is unattainable and sexy and all of those white hot things, that's exciting. That's like the thrill of the chase. It's almost like, you know, those cartoons where someone is chasing someone, and then all of a sudden that person turns around and the person stops and says, why am I chasing them? I didn't even want to chase them, but it's because they were running and that made them chaseable. This happens for us so many times and in so many ways. So it's a hard one, and it's often called the ick, which is, I think, an incredibly unsophisticated and unhelpful way to understand this dynamic, because often it is nothing more than a spasm of fear that we can get past. How do we get past it? Well, maybe that's for another episode. It's something I've talked about. But essentially, if you find that happening, that it's someone who looks good on paper, there was attraction, there was interest, and as they become available, you get more and more turned off, disinterested, or bored. If that's the case, don't call it the ick and run away. You could actually be close to something really wonderful here. In fact, when people experience this, I think they should celebrate because they've often met someone who's available. And availability with lack of drama is challenging for those of us who are used to unavailability and drama. So the two keys, this is kind of a side subject, but the two keys, if you find that happening to you in your dating life, are: do not flee. Do not call it the ick and say this is intractable and I just got to get out of here. Give it space and don't flee. The second thing is to give yourself space. Assuming it is a spasm of unconscious fear, the best thing you could do is let yourself off the hook. Give yourself breathing room. Don't go on a super romantic date. Don't have sex at this point, even if you have before. Give yourself more space. Maybe you want to go for a walk in the park with your dogs. Maybe you want to go to a movie and do nothing more than holding hands. Maybe you want to go to a museum. Maybe you want to go to a comedy club. But you kind of give yourself space and you start remembering the things that are fun about them, attractive about them, the things physically that attract you without any forcing yourself to do anything. Almost invariably, the attraction will begin to come back if you can do this. And with that, a clearer sense of if this person is right for you or not. I call it the wave of distancing because it hits you like a wave and it knocks you off balance, but it passes. Most of us flee before it passes. So that's what made the difference for me. I would have fled my husband if I didn't have those tools. Okay, so continuing on. What are the tools that can help you figure out, are these old patterns being reenacted and making me feel like I want to get away from here? Or might this actually be my intuition, my nervous system saying something is off here? So, first tool. My suggestion is to do something a little bit different to actually get out of your head, because God knows when we're dating, we are in our head. Is this person this? Are they that? Do I have spinach on my tooth? Am I dressed right? What about their taste in music? What would my friends think? Da, 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 da. I mean, the mind goes on endlessly, and it's kind of like a service road off the highway of your intuition that leads you down so many different paths, which are mostly essentially quite useless. You want to get back onto the highway of what your real experience is. How do you do that? You kind of drop down into the weather that you're feeling in your belly, in your gut, in your kishkas. Because in your head, you might be saying, oh, he's too old, or, oh, I don't like the clothes he's wearing, or whatever it is. Does he like me? Does she like me? Whatever it is, that's like what's going on and spinning endlessly in your head. But if you drop down into your feelings, you often notice something quite different. Like, oh, I kind of feel this warm feeling inside with this person. Or, I don't know if I'm good enough for this person. Or I feel slightly judged. Or why am I feeling like I need to keep proving myself? And that might not align with the fact that this person is really exactly your physical type. And that's another reason you have to drop down, because all of us have types, and those types really can hypnotize us. So we have to drop down into our nervous system and say, do I feel warm? Do I feel humorous? Do I feel, and this is something that someone in one of my coaching groups said that was so helpful. Do I feel like I need to perform, or do I feel like I could just be me? And when you drop down into yourself, while your head might have been telling you, this person is the cat's meow, the bee's knees, they are the one I want, you drop down into your nervous system and you feel, oh, I'm performing. I feel like I have to prove myself. And then you think, oh yeah, this thing that person said did not make me feel safe, did not make me feel seen. And this is actually the golden rule. This is the North Star question to help you drop down into your internal weather with this person. Does my heart, does my soul feel safe and seen appropriately, of course, at the level that you're meeting with this person? Do I have that comfort? Somebody I know said that her mom said to her, this is a heterosexual woman, so, it's a man and a woman, but my work is open to everyone and all of our work. Everyone. Coaches, don't just say men and women. Don't just say cisgender. Please, please, please allow for the whole community. That's just not done enough. Anyway, what was my point? My point was that her mom said to her, dating is like going to a shoe store and men are like the shoes. You do not want to walk out with the shoe that pinches but looks great and tell yourself that you'll get accustomed to it and it'll stretch out. You want to leave that store with a shoe that you essentially feel comfortable in when you walk out of that store. And I think that's wise, beautiful, funny, and incredibly true. Okay, so that's technique number one, to drop down into yourself. Now, you may need to get away to do that. So the bathroom is always a really good ruse. You step away, you say you need to use the bathroom, and then you take a minute or two in there and you decenter from your worries, your fears, your judgments, et cetera, and you say, what do I feel with this person? I really want to encourage everybody to do this exercise and even write to me and tell me what you experience, because the amazing thing is that what you're feeling in your internal weather is often really different than the stories spinning around in your head. So you want to develop that muscle, that capacity to drop down into your nervous system and notice what you're feeling. Okay, so maybe you're feeling better things than your head was telling you. Well, you want to really acknowledge that, enjoy it, connect with this person from that place, and get pleasure from that and build the connection in that way. I remember going on a date with someone and physically, who he was just absolutely not what I was looking for. But I did this exercise. And I noticed that I was feeling warm, safe, good, and fun. What a shock. Because in my head, I was like, Well, the relationship didn't end up working out, but for other reasons. But man, did I learn something. And it's something that I want to invite all of you to learn. It's a great empowerment tool to be able to do that. So, okay, these are examples of where what your head is saying is kind of no, but your inner weather is saying maybe yes, there's something I like here. Well, now let's talk about when the opposite happens. Let's say your head is telling you, well, this is really good. This guy, this woman, this person looks great on paper. Yeah. And they're kind, they're nice. I feel kind of safe and seen with them, but I'm not interested. Why am I not interested? What is going on? And that's a question that many people have. And that's another really complex choice point. So I want to offer you a tool for when that happens to you. And the tool is this. Assume that there is something real that is not feeling good. Do not assume you're crazy. Do not assume it's just fear of intimacy. It might be fear of intimacy, but you will find that out. But going against your gut and your judgment really never works very well. So my suggestion is assume that there is something valid to what you're feeling. Let's say you're feeling that they are shy in a certain way, and that shyness just doesn't make you feel great or doesn't make you feel safe. Assume that's true. So then you ask yourself, well, what would make me feel better here? And you think, well, I would like if this person kind of came forward more because they seem retreated. They seem hidden. Well, I'm like on a first date with this person and I can't tell her to come forward because she seems hidden and seems retreated. So what do I do with that? Well, my suggestion is just knowing it allows you more space. Oh, my nervous system feels funny around the fact that they seem timid and not forward. When you know that, there's a good chance that your nervous system will have a response. Maybe you will lean in more and want to get more real with them. Ask them questions that bring them forward. Maybe you want to pull back and give them room. Maybe you want to say, ask me some questions about me. And that's another thing. This is kind of like a separate thing, but how many people go on a date with someone? And if you're listening to this podcast, my guess is there's a really good chance you're a good listener because you wouldn't be listening otherwise to these ideas that involve such kind of deep self-reflection. So let's say you're a good listener and you're talking with someone and they're not asking you questions and you're noticing that and picking that up. Well, my thought is be radical, be brave, be kind, be really kind. Do not be mean, but be a little wild and ask for what you want. Like say, well, do you have any questions for me? Because I love when there's mutual curiosity. And then see what happens. The person might respond in a wonderful way. They might get it and click, and that's really good. They might gaslight you, and then you know this is not where you want to be. But there's something to be said for being a little bit audacious when your nervous system is telling you something is not right, and you think, what would I like more of? What would I like less of? And then actually asking for it. Maybe you might give it first. And this is something that I think is another really important piece, is on dates, be kind and be generous. Let yourself do that. Don't wait for the other person to do that. Because you're kind of giving them a welcome carpet to do that too. And if they're the kind of person who has curated a life where they care about those qualities, they will give that back. You lose nothing by being extra generous. You lose nothing by being extra kind because you do it consciously. And when the other person doesn't give it back, you know that they're not giving it back. And you say, well, is that the future I want? Probably not. So, I really encourage you to be audacious in terms of what you ask for, but do it in a kind way. I've seen again and again, people don't do that on a date. And here's what they think. They think, oh, it's my fear of intimacy. Oh, I'm being too judgmental. I might hurt their feelings. And then they're probably not going to want to see that person again. Or if they do, they'll feel like they're going against their own intuition in doing it. And I have seen again and again, when people do this, it leads to deeper intimacy and deeper clarity. So that's another piece of advice. Trust when you have an intuition that doesn't feel great. Drop down into your internal weather, but assume that there is validity there and ask yourself, what would I like? And see if you can make that happen. See if you can ask for what that is. We get timid and we don't do that. And we lose time, we lose energy, and we doubt ourselves. We are all extraordinary people. We have the right to be extraordinary. You have done a lot of work on yourself. You have a right to ask for a lot, probably because you're someone who gives a lot as well. So here's something else. The dating world is cold and unkind, and nobody wants to look like a fool. Nobody wants to look like an idiot. All of us have been hurt and disappointed. So there's a reflexive tendency to say, I'm going to get out of here. I'm out of here. And one of the ways that happens is they're not attractive enough. They're a little overweight. They're too skinny. When we're afraid, we lock into our types more quickly and more rigidly so that we can get the hell out of there more quickly and not be disappointed, or conversely be in this horrible situation where we kind of knew we weren't that interested from the beginning. And then all of a sudden the other person's interested in us. And what do we do? That's another really hard thing. And what I would say here is, if you're sure, you're sure. But if you're finding your reactivity is a little hair trigger, take a few breaths. Don't jump. Don't make the assumption. And I always talk about this story with a mentor of mine, John McNeil, who was one of the great theological pioneers in the gay liberation movement, and such a hero to me and such a dear friend. Anyway, I was telling him about somebody I was dating, and I was talking about how I just didn't know, like I wasn't really attracted, but he seemed like a nice guy. And what John said to me is, just keep dating him. And in a short amount of time, he's either going to get more beautiful to you or he's not. And either way, you will know. I love that advice, and I'm happy to share that advice with you. So if you're finding that you're having a reflexive kind of revulsion, judgment, pull away, get me out of here, slow that down. Because, and this is actually, I had this experience once with someone, and a friend of mine said something really wise to me, because I was saying, I better get out of here now, because I think this is going to be a problem. I think it's not going to be a match. So I better get out of here. And my friend said, because I don't want to be in that horrible situation in the future where I'm letting someone down and hurting them and feeling terrible. But my friend said, A, you could end up liking him more than he likes you. You don't know yet. B, he's an adult. And as long as you're being honest and not being dishonest to get what you want, and letting him know that you want to go slowly, then let him be an adult and let you both discover, because you could be cheating yourself by being so preemptively reactive. So that's something I want to share with all of you too. You'll know pretty quick, but if you find that your pull away is reflexive, look at it a little bit closer. And if your pull away is reflexive, and for something that's like that there may be 10 miles away as opposed to 2 miles away, which is your limit. They live uptown rather than downtown. Those are reflexive responses. Give it a break, give it time, give it space, and see what emerges. So that's another thing that I think is really important. It is such an interesting mixture of trusting ourselves and questioning ourselves, but not overriding our nervous system. It always works to listen to our nervous system. If there's a panic reaction, we'll say, whoa, that is a panic reaction that is not merited by who this person is. This is something I have to look at and work on. If it's a feeling of wanting something different or more, that's to be trusted, and for you to be a little audacious in going for it and seeing what happens. Of course, you want to do it appropriately, and God knows you want to do it kindly, letting it be about you as opposed to something wrong with the other person, something that would give you pleasure, something that you would like, as opposed to making the other person wrong. Those things make a huge difference. So it's this funny combination of being audacious and self-trusting, but also questioning yourself along the way at the same time. That's a beautiful and wise combination. But essentially, it ultimately comes down to trusting ourselves and just allowing a little more space in the process. So thank you all for listening. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Deeper Dating Podcast. And please go to Deeper for Good and join our new amazing app. Thank you so much.
And that's it for today's episode of Deeper Dating. Be sure to go to deeperdatingpodcast.com as Ken has a few more gifts for you. Then join us on the next episode.